It is time for true crime. Yeah, I should be a poet, guys. Today with the story of the Snapchat killer. A 13-year-old girl took snaps of the murderer, guys. Yeah, subscribe my channel if you're new here. My name is Mats. Let's go with this story.
It was supposed to be just a normal walk on the trail, and they went to go pick them up. A couple hours later, they never showed up.
I think the part that really struck a nerve is when we're told that this is part of a criminal investigation. A crime has been committed.
I couldn't go outside of the house without having a panic attack.
As early as February 15th, the police found a Snapchat picture taken by Libby on the trail. In the distance, there's a creepy man following them.
There's this fear that they're walking around every day and they're seeing this person.
What do you think of when you think of evil? A mad doctor experimenting on his patients? What about a man with a hidden face waiting in the woods to kill your children? Tragically, this is what happened to Abigail Williams and Liberty German in February 2017. They were hiking in Delphi, Indiana, when they suddenly disappeared. But a man Liberty accidentally photographed revealed some terrifying clues.
I got chills, guys. I get chills, okay? Imagine, okay, you don't know who murdered your kids, and then you look at the snaps your kid took while they were on a hiking trip, and in the background you can see a shape of a man, okay? And there's a big chance, okay, that this is the murder of your kids.
If you're ready for it, let's dive into the case of the girls whose last Snapchat footage showed their murderer.
I get chills, guys, all over my body. The girl whose last Snapchat showed
Today's story begins
her
in Delphi, Indiana. This peaceful town has a population of under 3,000 people.
Why do I think that in these small villages everything is fine? There is peace, especially in a village with a population of under 3,000 people. Okay, there are actually murderers. What?
And it's known for its beautiful heritage, its forests and a canal that once bound together the regions of Indiana. This was the hometown of best friends Abigail Williams and Liberty German. They grew up together in an environment that seemed as safe as it gets.
I think in 2017, Delphi was the safest place any of us felt like we could be.
Of course, it's a little village. Everybody knows everybody. It feels like, no, this is very peaceful. You never can imagine that something that horrible crime can happen in such a small village like this.
We would leave our doors unlocked. We didn't have security systems.
Yeah, of course. Doors unlocked. You have to imagine, because you trust anybody there.
Delphi seemed to even
you trust everybody there.
Have the concept of being on the lookout for danger. The whole town was just one big community.
You know, this is where you go visit grandma and grandpa.
My hometown, where I grew up, was 1,000 people, small village as well, yeah? And there weren't any crime. Once our neighbor were they broke into their house, and it was a topic in the whole village for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was very afraid that these people break into our house, but yeah, nothing happens. Yeah, when something that horrible happened in such a small village, it's everybody knows it.
Your uncle's small businesses, restaurants, a great community to raise a family.
And it seemed like it, at least for Abby and Liberty. They grew up with their loving families, and soon they became inseparable.
She loved helping other people, being around, assisting her nieces, playing games and drawing and art and being creative.
By the time she was 13 in 2007, Abby played the piano and the saxophone. Libby, on the other hand, was the more fearless, sporty type.
She was very giving.
They're too young to die, guys. Too young.
Very stick up for the underdog.
We were inseparable. We were always together. We pretty much did everything together.
On February 13th, 2017, Abby was 13 and Liberty was 14. It was a beautiful day. There was no school, and
13 and 14.
A lot of kids were outside, walking, chatting, or playing. Soon enough, Libby chatted to Abby, and they decided to meet up and walk down to the famous park trailers around town.
I was getting ready for work. And Libby busts open the bathroom door, as in just sitting there, getting ready. And she says, "Hey, can we go to Highwards today?" The moment I dropped them off, Libby got out of the car and turned around and told me she loved me.
Those were
This little decision, this small little decision to go on a hike on this day, it was one of 365 days a year, changed their whole life. They got murdered.
were Libby's last words to her sister. At around 1:30 p.m. that day, the girls started hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek. Half an hour later, Libby posted a photo of Abby walking down the bridge.
This is the original snap, guys.
It was supposed to be.
This here is the original snap, okay? She's walking here, and yeah.
Just a normal walk on the trail, and they went to go pick them up a couple hours later. They never showed up.
Abby and Libby were supposed to meet Libby's dad at 3:15 p.m. He was going to drive them home, but they weren't at the meeting point.
Okay, they were dropped off on 1:30 and at 3:15, so nearly 2 hours, okay? For 2 hours in the middle of the day. Guys, it can happen anytime, everywhere.
And they weren't answering their phones either.
Becky tried to call and wasn't getting any response, so she called me probably about 4 o'clock or so in the afternoon, and she said, "Hey, we're not getting can't get a hold of Libby." I said, "All right, let me pack up here and I'll head that way."
Libby's dad went around the trail and walked down every path, thinking Libby's gonna be grounded for fooling around like this. In fact, both girls' families were convinced that they were just being silly or forgetful and were planning to tell them off for doing so.
Yeah. In the first moment, you don't think about any bad things that could happen, and the moment you realize, okay, we are now looking for these girls for like 1 hour, 2 hours, it's like, okay, and then you begin to panic, okay, because you realize, okay, they're like away, maybe something happened to them. This must be, especially when you're parents, that must be a horrible feeling. I think there are not many things that are more horrible than losing your children. I think maybe it's the most horrible thing that can happen in your life.
We didn't think the worst. We didn't nowhere near think the worst.
However, Libby's dad was quick to call the police. After all, his daughter was missing, and there was no sign from either of them. But the local police
when did they call the police? After 2 hours or what? Because when do you decide to call the police? Because in the beginning, yeah, you only think that they're joking or that they forgot the time or something like that.
Community searched through the whole trail, only to find nothing.
February 14, okay.
The search for Abby and Libby continued through the night. People were hopeful, and the running theory was that the two girls got lost in the woods or fell down a crevice and would be rescued.
You get no answer from their cell phone, and you're searching the whole night. This is okay. After that time, you realize, okay, you have to think about the worst things. Horrible. I have chills all around my body, guys.
Around noon on February 14th, their bodies were found.
Okay. On the next day, right?
I had a friend that ran up to me and said her husband called her and that they found the girls, but she wouldn't say anything more. So we got to the trailhead, and I ran up to a fireman and said, you need to take me to Libby. She's been out all night. She's gonna need me.
No.
I saw the coroner's van go by. And that's when it hit.
Libby and...
Whoa. Oh, guys, this is hard. This is really hard. Okay, I get a little bit emotional.
Abby's families were devastated. What had happened? Had they climbed somewhere and slipped? That's when it got darker. The police declared the deaths of Abby and Libby to be a murder investigation.
I think the part that really struck a nerve is when we're told that this is part of a criminal investigation. A crime has been committed.
What
exactly.
sort of
They could be they slipped or they fell somewhere down or something like that. But no, it's when it's about the fact that there is a crime involved. Then it's really hard, especially for the parents here.
Monster would take the lives of 2 teenage girls. Even more worrying for a peaceful town like Delphi, he did it in broad daylight, and no one even found the bodies until the next day. People were in shock, terrified of the killer striking again, and desperate to find him.
I couldn't go outside of the house without having a panic attack.
The girls' families couldn't continue their lives as they knew them.
It affects us hard, you know, as a family. I didn't sleep for a long time.
You worry about them dating and driving and going to college, not going out for a walk on a beautiful February afternoon.
Even the police were affected. Something as horrible as this simply didn't.
In the afternoon, in a small village, do not expect anything bad can happen. Yeah.
Happen in Delphi.
Why Libby? Why Abby? Somebody knows. And if you're watching, we'll find you.
As early as February 15th, the police found a Snapchat picture taken by Libby on the trail. In the distance, there's a creepy man following them. Did Libby photograph this man on purpose, or was it an accident, as she was really taking a snapshot of the scenery? But the police soon discovered there was also a recording that Libby took of him.
And before long, you actually hear his voice.
As you might have guessed,
I have chills, guys.
The case gained nationwide attention.
Here he is, Delphi.
What a horrible human being.
Here he is, community. Here he is, America. That's the guy. Can you find the guy?
Indeed, the police thought that with a picture and a recording of his voice, there was no way the killer wouldn't be caught within a few days. The people of Indiana had taken a good look at Libby's picture. More clues should be coming soon. Everyone was sure.
Hear that person's voice. It's creepy.
Kind of puts chills down your spine.
And they released a sketch of the suspect.
But no arrests were made to this day. In 2019, 2 years after Abby and Libby's deaths, the police released the video of the killer walking behind the girls.
Okay, because they couldn't find the killer, so they decided 2 years after to publish the video. And now everybody can watch this video and can help. Yes, 2 years later. How hard is it for the family that they lost their children and they couldn't find the man who did this crime?
There's no one on the planet that wants to go to them more than me and say, we finally did it.
In 2019, 2 years after Abby and Libby's deaths, the police released the video of the killer walking behind the girls. Until then, the public only had his picture and the recording. Eventually, the sketch was updated to match the details of the man in the video recording, as well as the description that someone gave for a hiker walking alone on the trails at the same time of the girl's disappearance. The two pretty different sketches caused speculation and confusion worldwide. Were the police looking at two suspects, or did they simply get new details and scratched the first sketch?
Are there two suspects that you're looking for?
There are not. I saw some coverage tonight where I saw Becky Patty was interviewed back in 2019 when that was done, and she said tonight it was like a gut punch, and I felt that gut punch tonight because I would never ever intentionally cause that to happen.
Once again, no arrests were made, but the Indiana police never gave up on the case. In fact, even the FBI got involved.
Our investment in that investigation has been and continues to be significant.
Abby and Libby's case made the headlines again in February 2022. Investigators want to speak to anyone who may have communicated with, met, or attempted to meet a man named Keegan Kline. Apparently, Kline had created a fake Instagram profile that was active in 2016 and 2017 with the name Anthony_Shots. He'd used images of a male model to attract young teenage girls and convince them to send him nude pictures as well as their home address. Kline was charged with child exploitation and For the time being, it's unknown whether Abby or Libby communicated with the fake Anthony shots online.
Do you think it's possible that your sister and Abby were communicating with this account?
I think that the account is definitely important and that we have to keep sharing it and putting it out there because for whatever reason, law enforcement thinks it's important.
The police are confident they're getting closer to the killer every day. Meanwhile, dozens of tips come forth
For the family, it's
every
so important to find the killer, guys. It's like a piece of hope they have. They never get their family member, their sister, their daughter back. Of course, she's there, but they have some hope if the murder, will be found. And maybe went out because they just want to have fun, go hiking, or maybe they met with a guy online.
Single week.
I still get between probably 25 and 40 direct tips a week right here, literally from around the world.
But the police have to sift through them carefully.
Biggest evidence in this case comes from Libby German's cell phone. That grainy image of a man on the high bridge and an audio recording that the 14-year-old had the forethought to take, even in the face of danger. Hundreds, if not thousands, of tips have poured in from social media.
But these tips can hurt the case as much as they can help it. On social media, people take matters into their own hands and post opinions more than...
The fact that the man did talk to the girls they were not afraid of him. Otherwise, they would have run away, you know what I mean? But they did not. They talked to him. So, in the first place, I think they weren't afraid or scared of the man. They took a video of him, yeah. But maybe in the first place he was very friendly.
And facts. This makes the work even harder for the investigators.
I think when people start doing their own investigation and start comparing what they think, that creates problems. We asked them not to do that. There are a lot of people that look like the sketches that we've released. And then when you blow that out there with a picture of somebody that they think next to a sketch, imagine what it does to that person if they're not involved at all.
But as time passes and the killer isn't found, people around the world get even more involved online.
I think the web sleuths out there are baffled by this case because on the surface, it appears like the police have a lot, right? We have the suspect's voice, we have video for the alleged suspect, and yet here we are 5 years later talking on the anniversary, and there's still no one that's been charged with the murder of Libby and Abby.
Indeed, no one has been arrested or charged with the murder of Abby or Libby to this day. But unlike many other cases where the interest dies out about a year or two after no action, Abby and Libby's case only seems to catch fire. Detective Doug Carter actually gets more confident every single day as he's waiting for the tips to come to an end.
We're closer every day. We're closer every single day. The tips keep coming. And once that comes in, and once that completes itself, then we're going to have to assign another 60 or 80 detectives to this and go back through every single lead that we've ever gotten.
As of 2022, it appears as if the police have many more details than they're revealing, including a 43-second video that was taken at the time of the girl's disappearance. Carter was asked, why not release all these details to the public?
It's important that we don't show our hand, quite frankly. We're not going to explain what we know about the killer. We're not going to explain some of the intricate details of the death of Abby and Libby.
Indeed, it's pretty likely that
knows more than the public, of course. But it can be very dumb to publish every detail.
Abby and Libby's killer is watching the news, perhaps even their families. It's a fact, but a very creepy thought that most child killers are people their families know, neighbors, people from their schools, or even relatives. Yeah. The thought that Abby and Libby's murderer is still walking freely in Delphi or is even someone the families know scares the whole community. Yeah.
But they definitely said they are afraid and there's fear that when this is ultimately solved, they are gonna know who this person is. And because it's such a small community, you know, it's just a couple, 3,000 people. There's this fear that they're walking around every day and they're seeing this person.
Okay, but they are very sure that the murder comes from this 3,000 people community, but maybe he comes from far away. Could be as well. that the family doesn't know. Could be. The chances high that is somebody who's known by the family or by the girls, but can be anybody.
And Libby's families prepare to find out who the killer is. They also spend a lot of time raising awareness about the case and making sure Delphi is a safe place to raise your kids.
You're outside. You do stuff outside. That's what we have. So the trails is kind of what Delphi had.
Abby and Libby's case is a deeply tragic story and a scary one for the Delphi community. But it's one
I guess like no kids are going alone to the Delphi bridge, okay, after this case. Yeah, the chance is very low that this will happen again, and the murderer has really dumb to murder exactly on that place again. So, but you're afraid, okay? There were a case, and everybody knows what happened. So I think children are not going to that place alone again.
Few cases that have gathered no dust as time passes. The police are getting more and more confident, and the internet is waiting eagerly to hear more updates. And that's the truly upsetting case of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Thank you for tuning in to another episode.
Yeah, guys, oh my gosh, this is a really hard true crime story, but very interesting. What do you think about that case, guys? Write it in the comments, and if I should do more videos about true crime, let me know in the comments, guys. And of course, subscribe to my channel. We're about to hit the 20,000, I think. There are like 500 or 600 subscribers left, and then we have the 20,000. Would be wonderful, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Here you can subscribe to my channel. Here you can see to other videos I upload like every day, guys. So tune in tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.